I'm the talking head, I think.
I'm Bob Jones. I'm from Chesterfield County, been a lifetime Virginian.
Ah,
Okay, and you are?
I'm Kevin Oyarzo from Frederick, Maryland.
Okay. She just said you've done it for 40 years. What got you started?
Let's see. Gosh, just had a real interest in American history, and
Yeah, but anybody in particular, most of the people out here tell me a dad or a friend, or they just happen to go to a reenactment. That was it.
I didn't. I just got interested. Had some friends in high school that went to that did reenacting. And
Okay.
they invited me along, and I was really hooked. And I started reenacting, and then I did horse-drawn artillery, or artillery for the first time, just a static gun. And then once I got into that, I just had to keep going. And
So this group right here is called is what? Who are you portraying?
first section.
Of what?
But that's our umbrella group.
I mean,
but
what
we're doing,
what do you call the unit here?
Richardson's battalion.
Okay, but I mean, the cannon. What would you call it? With battalion. What is your group called? You're not riflemen.
No. We're artillery.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so did you have to take? Like I said, you probably had horses growing up. Maybe.
No, I got horses later in life because I was doing artillery and I wanted to do horse-drawn with them. So I got a set of horses and put the harness together and bought a cannon and put it all together and did it.
So do you just show up and, hey, I got a horse and a cannon, and you got with some guys, or?
Well, there's people around that are like-minded and like what we're doing here. You know, this weekend where we all got together and decided, hey, let's come to Appomattox. MPS invited us to do this, and it's
Right.
exciting to come to MPS site because very few people get invited to come.
Well, I just want to let you guys know that, like, I started doing this little bit here, and my granddaughters, you'd be surprised what they pick up. I was not particularly, with me being a student, sitting in the back of the room, and I never heard of Namazine Church, Cumberland, and I live here all my life. And quite frankly, this kind of went through the basics, and a lot of people do. Kids nowadays, I don't know what they're learning for history. So it's going like me, I just kind of like talk, you know what I'm saying? If you were trying to convey something right now to what you're trying to do in the unit here, as far as like, what are you trying to portray? What would you tell somebody you're doing?
Well, we're portraying history. It's a history. It's something that happened. We have a great interest in it. We all study it, and to actually, really, we love horses, working with the horses. And what we're portraying here is something that's very rarely seen: horse-drawn artillery. You see a lot of people with cannons, or a lot of battlefields loaded up with cannons, and
So this is,
that's only half the experience.
well, obviously this is your collars and stuff here. I mean, it's a lot of care, a lot of care.
It's a harness. So it's artillery harness. This is actually Confederate harness because it's got rope traces instead of leather. They had a real shortage with that. There's an on horse and an off horse. The horses are ridden postilion, which is a French term for tandem horses. Each pair of horses is called a team, and each pair is mounted. That gives you more control under combat conditions. And this is the limber. This is the tow hitch that hauled everything in the artillery. Yeah, and again, this is the harness. It's all kind of stacked up now. Once it's on the horses, it makes a lot more sense. But this is good to keep it up off the ground. And
How far do they drive these horses on a day for a march?
on a day, anywhere. If they could do it a small short distance, but there was a battery, Knapp's battery, in the Civil War that got heard about the upcoming battle of Gettysburg. They didn't know it was a battle there. They were
Right.
called, you got to come up, and they did 38 miles in one day, artillery. It went from Frederick on a single March day, 38 miles. So you could cover a lot of ground.
I never realized the carnage in horses too in battle and stuff. Like, you know anything about the numbers or?
I don't know the true numbers, but it's horrible, the impacts. In fact, if the infantry, one of the things that the infantry did if they would overrun a battery was to shoot all the horses so you couldn't take the cannons off. And that's just a fact of war, but it's sad.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this war is horrible. I mean, it's kind of like.
They got sicknesses, different diseases. They had this pneumonia, it's called glanders back then. that killed hundreds of thousands of horses.
Everybody wants the war to talk about it, to be sterilized and not know it. You know, my dad was disabled from World War II, and it's kind of like people don't have a clue. You know, they really don't.
It's sad.
But
it's everybody pitching in for their cause.
Anybody in your family do any, that
In the war?
any ancestors?
Nope, not at
Because
all.
I can't trace mine back. You know,
Yeah, I
somebody
don't
told
have
me to
any.
check with the Mormons on it. They might be able to have some history, but
No, I have a
just like history.
great-great-grandmother that might have. I know she came west to California in 1862 from Ohio. She might have had brothers, but I haven't been able to find anybody. But
Yeah.
I just love history.
Yeah,
That's
well,
my-
the seeking history, you know, I don't know. Sometimes I think like maybe half of it, because here's one thing is like, obviously, I just noticed that generals, a lot of them were the second child. You know why? Primogeniture. You know what primogeniture is? Primogeniture is the oldest gets everything. It's just like the king and those heirs, and a female would never get it. Primogeniture was kind of like playing out in 1950, but my generation had just died out, okay,
Got that.
officially. So what happens, if you go look at Winfield, I think it's Winfield Scott,
Yes.
he was a second child. I started looking at a lot of these generals, and I'm serious out there. How are they going to make their, because the oldest one ruled the roost.
So they had to strike out
And
on their own.
well, they didn't have to, but a lot of them was like, you're not going to be the boss of me. This is how I'm going to make my money, and I'm going to be my own person. And a lot of them went out there and did that. And the other thing that has amazed me on history too, half of the generals, you can become a general if you can raise money and put horses out there. They'll make you a general. And so half of our generals out there on both sides.
Yeah.
So the stories are out there. They're amazing if people ask questions.
They put up the money for uniforms and clothing and horses and.
Here you are, you're a
everything,
general,
and
and going like, have
in
you ever done
charge.
this before? No, but you were going to start marching, fella.
Well, if he's a smart person, he'd get in some good folks and promote some lieutenants up to
Right.
higher ranks that really knew what they were doing. So,
Thanks for talking to
you're
me.
welcome. Thank you.
Hey, I'm glad to see you guys out here doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
You'd be surprised. These kids they're picking it up.
That's good.